The night was cold on the outer rim planet called Varix 9. Rain fell slowly, making the metal streets shine under broken neon signs. The spaceport buzzed with noise, aliens shouting, ships lifting off, and machines humming. But down one empty alley, everything was quiet. Almost too quiet. A figure limped through the shadows. She was covered in a dark cloak, soaked and torn. Blood dripped from her side. She clutched it tightly, trying not to make a sound. Her breath was shaky, her eyes sharp and alert. Every few steps she had to stop and lean against the wall. Her name was Kira Zell. To most of the galaxy, she was a ghost. To others, she was death itself. Posters of her face were on every bounty board. Wanted. Kira Zell, dead or alive. 3 million credits. No one had caught her. Not yet. But tonight, she was weak. She had been shot during a job that went wrong. Her body, trained for war and silent death, was finally failing. Suddenly, her knees gave out. She collapsed behind a stack of crates in the alley. Her vision blurred. She reached into her boot and pulled out a tiny blade. But even her grip was weak now. "I can't end like this," she whispered. Footsteps echoed. Kira's eyes flicked up. Someone was coming. She forced her body to stay still, ready to strike if needed. A man appeared at the alley entrance. He wore an old leather jacket and carried a bag of tools. His face was tired but calm, with gray at the edges of his beard. He wasn't armed. He looked like a mechanic or junk trader. He stopped when he saw the shadow in the corner. "You all right?" he called out. No answer. He stepped closer, careful and slow. He raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "Name's Jonah. I've got a workshop nearby. If you need help, I can—" Kira's blade pressed against his neck in a flash. She had moved faster than he expected, even in her condition. Jonah didn't flinch. "You're fast," he said softly. "But you're bleeding." She didn't reply. Her hand trembled. The blade lowered. She passed out before she could say another word. Jonah looked around, then carefully picked her up. She was light but tense, like a coiled spring. He noticed the symbols on her cloak and the tattoos on her fingers. He had seen them before. On wanted lists, on the news, in whispered stories from mercenaries. But he didn't turn her in. He carried her through the rain, past old ships and junk piles to his workshop. The place was small but warm. Lights buzzed overhead. Machines sat on shelves, half built and half broken. Jonah placed her on a makeshift bed in the corner. He removed her cloak gently and saw the wound. Burned flesh. A blaster shot. Too close to the stomach. "Whoever did this wasn't trying to kill you," he muttered. "They wanted to watch you suffer." He worked quickly, cleaned the wound, sealed it with a med-gel patch, wrapped it tight. All while she lay still, breathing shallow but steady. After 2 hours, she was resting. Jonah sat nearby, thinking. He knew who she was, everyone did. But he had seen something in her eyes, not rage, not madness, just pain. Deep, silent pain. Why would the galaxy's deadliest assassin look so lost? The next morning, a sharp sound woke him. The blade was back at his throat. Kira was awake. Jonah didn't move. "You saved me," she said quietly. "I did." "Why?" He looked at her and answered simply, "Because no one else would." Her eyes searched his face for a trap, for a lie, for a secret plan, but there was nothing, just calm. "You know who I am?" she said. "I do." "You know what I've done?" "Yes." "And you still helped me?" "I fix broken things," he said with a shrug. "You looked like one." Kira didn't kill him. She sat back, still holding the blade, but her breathing was slower now. She looked around the room, machines, blueprints, a half-finished hoverbike. Peaceful things, normal things, things she had never known. Outside, bounty hunters were hunting her. Inside, for the first time in years, she wasn't running. But peace never lasted. Her face had been seen, and someone had already placed a call. Kira Zell had never stayed in one place for more than a night, but now, 3 days had passed since she woke up in Jonah's workshop. She had not killed him. Not yet. Instead, she sat on a dusty stool watching him fix a broken circuit board. His hands were steady, calm, no fear, no judgment, just work. He offered her food on the first day. She didn't touch it. The second day, she ate it in silence. The third day, she asked for more. Jonah said little, and that's what kept her there. He wasn't trying to be her friend. He didn't ask questions. He didn't act like a hero. He just treated her like a person. One evening, Jonah worked late, fixing a scanner core for a local trader. Sparks flew as he soldered the final wire. Kira sat nearby, sharpening one of her throwing knives on a small stone. "I fixed your weapon too," he said without looking at her. "Blaster's on the bench." She said nothing, but her hand paused for a moment. "You could have turned me in," she said softly. "Told the bounty hunters." "I could have," Jonah replied. "Didn't want to." "Why not?" He looked up. His eyes were tired but kind. "Because maybe, just maybe, you don't want to be that person anymore." That made her laugh. A cold, short laugh. "You think I can just change?" "No," he said, smiling. "But I think you're already trying." That night, Kira walked into the back room. It was filled with old relics. Half-finished machines, a small bed, and a cracked mirror. She stared at her reflection. Her face was pale. Her long black hair hung loosely over her shoulders. Her eyes, sharp and dangerous, were full of something new. Something that scared her. Regret. Later, as Jonah made tea, he found her staring at the stars through a cracked window. "I was 10, she said suddenly, "when they took me." Jonah didn't interrupt. "They trained me, cut me open, rebuilt my bones with metal, taught me to kill before I could read." A pause. "I've done things I can't undo." Jonah placed the cup near her, careful not to get too close. "You ever think," she continued, "that monsters aren't born? They're made?" He nodded. "Yeah, but that doesn't mean they have to stay monsters." Outside, the wind howled. Inside, the silence between them said more than words, but silence doesn't last forever. The next morning, a group of bounty hunters landed nearby. A young thief had seen Kira's face 2 nights ago. For 5 credits, he told a stranger. That stranger told someone else. Now hunters were closing in. Jonah's scanner blinked red. "Visitors," he said, locking the main door. 3 of them, armed. Kira stood. No fear in her eyes. She was used to this. But something had changed. She didn't want to run this time. She didn't want to leave this strange, quiet man who had given her warmth. Jonah handed her a bag. "There's a tunnel under the back wall. It'll take you to the old scrapyard." She didn't take it. "I'm not leaving you. You have to." "I don't run anymore," she said. "Not unless you come too." Their eyes met. Jonah saw something in her he didn't expect. Fire, yes, but also loyalty. He slowly nodded. "All right then. Let's deal with them together." As footsteps approached the door, Kira grabbed her blaster. Not to kill for money, but to protect the first man who treated her like she wasn't just a weapon. Smoke filled the workshop. The 3 bounty hunters never stood a chance. Kira didn't kill them, only knocked them out. Quick strikes, clean moves. She left them breathing. That was new. Jonah stared as she cleaned the blood from her blade. "You held back." Kira didn't answer. Her hand shook, just a little. She had spent her life slicing through enemies like shadows in the night. No mercy, no guilt. But something had changed, and it terrified her. Later, she sat on the roof of the shop, staring at the stars. Jonah joined her, handing over a metal flask of water. She took it and drank in silence. "You didn't have to stay," he said. "I know. You didn't have to spare them." "I know that too." He waited. And then finally, she spoke. They gave me a new name when I was 12, Project Siren. The scientists who made me said I was too beautiful to be feared and too fast to be seen. They tested my pain limits, burned my skin to see how much I could take, shot my arm just to watch how fast I healed. Jonah said nothing. His hand clenched around the flask, but he didn't interrupt. They killed a boy once, just to see if I would cry. She looked away. I didn't. I was already dead inside. Down in the alley below, a young girl from the market passed by, singing to herself. Her voice was soft, pure. Kira watched her disappear around the corner. She reminded me of someone, Kira said. Who? My sister. Before they took her. I tried to protect her, but they used me to find her. Promised they'd let us go if I gave them names. I believed them. She laughed bitterly. They killed her the next day. Jonah swallowed hard. You were a child. I became a monster because I trusted monsters. Inside the workshop, Kira walked to the far corner where Jonah had set up a small table. There was a broken, hollow photo of a child smiling with a dog and another image, one of a woman with dark curls and soft eyes. Your family? Kira asked. Jonah nodded. Wife and daughter, gone. War took them. How do you live with that? He shrugged. I fix things that can be fixed, except what can't. Kira stared at the photo for a long time. Later that night, she asked for a tool. Jonah handed it over, curious. What are you making? Something I burned long ago, she said. A memory. He watched as she took a melted chunk of metal, a few wires and the broken part of a pendant from her boot. She rebuilt it slowly, carefully. It became a locket. Inside, she inserted a tiny shard of old glass, a memory chip from the facility that raised her. It holds their names, she whispered. The ones I couldn't save. Jonah didn't ask more. He just sat beside her. The next morning, Kira surprised him again. She was helping a local boy fix his drone. The boy didn't know who she was, just that she was quiet, fast, and good with machines. Jonah watched from the shadows. She laughed once, soft, awkward, but real. A killer's laugh, a survivor's laugh. But peace never lasts long. In the distance, a new message played across every bounty board screen. Wanted alive, Kira Zell, do not kill, special order from the Empire. The price had tripled, and that meant one thing. They didn't want her dead anymore. They wanted to use her again. Kira saw the alert and didn't blink. They know I'm alive, she said. They'll come soon. Jonah looked at her. You want to run again? Kira shook her head. I don't want to run anymore. I want to burn the place that made me what I am. Jonah's eyes narrowed. Then let's end it. The stars above Varix 9 burned red that night. Kira stood on the roof of the workshop, staring at the sky as ships began to descend. Not commercial freighters, not traders, hunters, dozens of them. She didn't flinch. She had been hunted all her life, but this time was different. This time, someone else was in danger. Down below, Jonah packed tools into a crate. His hands moved quickly, but his face stayed calm. He had survived wars, explosions, betrayal. He knew the signs of a coming storm. Kira dropped into the workshop silently. They found me, she said. I figured. There's more than before, too many. Jonah paused. What are you going to do? She looked at him, then at the locket around her neck. I don't want to run, she said. But if I stay, they'll kill you. Jonah walked to a hidden panel in the floor, pulled out a heavy case. Inside was a sleek weapon, old, powerful, and well-maintained. I've got a few surprises, he said. You stay, I stay. Kira stared at him. You're not afraid? I am, Jonah said. But I've never had a reason to fight since my family died. Now I do. As night fell, the first scout crept into the junkyard. He moved like a shadow, silent, focused, alert. He didn't see Kira drop from above. She stunned him before he could send a signal. No kill. Just silence. Another scout followed. This time, Jonah took him out with a trap hidden under a fake generator. Kira watched with raised eyebrows. Nice work, she said. I used to rig explosives for starships, Jonah replied. Still remember a trick or two. But the third scout made it past them. He saw Kira. He confirmed her identity, and he escaped. Within minutes, bounty hunters surrounded the shop. Hovercrafts landed, red lights flashed across rooftops, drones buzzed in the air. Jonah looked through a crack in the wall. This is bad. Kira nodded. They want me alive, but they won't mind if you're dead. He looked at her. You could leave now. I won't stop you. I know, she said. But I'm not leaving. Inside, Kira and Jonah activated every trap he had ever built. Energy fields, smoke bombs, fake decoys, and motion mines. The shop became a maze of tricks and chaos. Outside, a voice echoed through a loudspeaker. Kira XL, you are surrounded. Surrender, or we take you by force. Jonah looked at her. What's the plan? She checked her weapon. We make them believe something they can't accept. Which is, that I'm not running anymore. The first wave came at midnight. 10 men armored, moving in pairs. They entered the shop. They didn't make it past the hallway. Gas filled the air. The floor shocked their boots. The lights flickered. Kira appeared out of nowhere, striking fast, never killing but never missing. Jonah pulled one man's leg out from behind a machine and knocked him cold. Outside, the leader of the bounty, Team Captain Run, watched the chaos unfold on a screen. She's still deadly, he muttered, but she's protecting someone now. Rune opened a comlink to someone far away. She's not behaving like the reports say. She's changed. Someone's influencing her. A deep voice replied, We don't care if she's changed. Bring her in. Kill the human if needed. Back inside, Kira leaned against a wall, breathing hard. Jonah handed her water. You all right? I can fight, she said, but I'm tired of being hunted. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Then stop running. Make them run. She blinked, then nodded. She stepped outside, all alone. Hands up. I'm here, she shouted. Hundreds of eyes turned to her. I won't run, I won't fight, but I won't go with you either. Captain Rune stepped forward. Then you die here. Kira smiled. No, you die trying. And from the shadows, dozens of citizens stepped out. Locals Jonah had helped, traders who owed him favors, even the orphan boy with the drone. They didn't have weapons, but they stood with her. Run hesitated. This is a mistake, he warned. Jonah appeared beside her holding a small remote. Maybe, he said, but it's mine to make, and he pressed the button. A wave of blinding light surged out of the shop. A sonic pulse, non-lethal but powerful, swept through the hunters, knocking them off their feet, disarming drones and jamming their signals. In the confusion, Kira whispered, Let's vanish, and they did. The jungle outside the spaceport was wet, wild, and full of life that didn't trust outsiders. But Kira and Jonah had no choice. After the sonic blast, they escaped into the green maze, guided by memory, instinct, and silence. For 2 days, they hid under trees and inside caves. The air was thick. Mosquito drones buzzed near their skin. Bounty ships flew overhead, scanning the ground. Jonah coughed as they climbed up a hill. I think I inhaled half the jungle. Kira didn't laugh. She hadn't spoken much since they left. Her eyes were sharp again, cold again, like the old. Kira, the assassin. That night, they found shelter under the roots of a massive glowing tree. Jonah built a small heat lamp, careful not to light a fire. Kira sat nearby, staring at her hands. They were shaking, not from fear, but from memory. I almost killed him, she said suddenly. Jonah looked up. Who? One of the bounty hunters. I had him pinned, blade at his throat. He begged, said he had a daughter. Jonah said nothing. I saw my own face in his, that scared me. He moved closer. You didn't kill him. That means something. Kira closed her eyes. Not enough. These hands, they don't forget. They only remember blood. Before Jonah could answer, an alarm blinked on his wristband. A red dot moved fast on the map. Someone's coming. Kira stood immediately. They found us. A second later, 3 bounty hunters burst from the trees, stealth gear activated. Guns raised. Jonah dove behind a rock. Kira didn't move. She stepped forward slowly, arms raised. Don't, one of the hunters warned. We want you alive. You should have stayed home, Kira said coldly. She struck fast. 1 gun flew from a hand. 1 man went down with a broken leg. The third tried to stab her, but she twisted his arm until it snapped. He screamed. She pressed her blade to his throat. Stop, Jonah shouted. That's enough. Kira froze. Her eyes were full of rage and fear. She looked down at the man, crying, begging, helpless. Her breathing slowed. Her fingers loosened. She pulled the blade back, then stood up and walked away. Jonah helped tie the hunters with energy cuffs. They wouldn't follow again. Found Kira sitting alone by the stream, washing blood from her hands. They were going to kill us, she said. I know, but I didn't want to kill them, she added. I wanted to. Jonah sat beside her. You're fighting what they made you. That's not easy. She turned to him. What if I lose? Then I'll remind you who you are now. They rested that night in silence, but the storm wasn't over. Far above them, a new ship entered orbit. Not a bounty hunter. Something worse. The Imperial Retrievers. Black ships. Silent engines. No warnings. No survivors. They were made for one purpose, to retrieve escaped Imperial assets. Kira Zell was one of those. Back in the jungle, Jonah was fixing his broken scanner when he heard it. A low, distant hum. Not natural. He ran to Kira. She was already standing, looking up through the trees. They're here, she whispered. The ones who made me. Jonah's face turned pale. Can we run? Kira shook her head. They don't stop. Jonah touched her arm. Then we fight. She looked down, at her hands, still red, still shaking. Yes, she said softly. But not the way they taught me. The Imperial ship did not land. It hovered in the sky like a dark god, silent and cold, casting a long shadow over the jungle below. Every creature went still. Birds fled. The wind died. Jonah stared at the black ship through his binoculars. That's not a bounty craft. No, Kira said. That's worse, that's home. Jonah looked at her. She wasn't shaking anymore. She was stone, an orb detached from the ship, smooth, silent. It flew toward them slowly, cutting through the trees like a blade through cloth. When it reached the clearing, it hovered, then opened. Projection flickered into the air. A man in white armor appeared, tall, clean, not a scratch on him. His voice was smooth, almost kind. Kira Zell, you've survived longer than expected. We are impressed. She said nothing. We offer peace, no pain, no prison, just a purpose. Return to the Empire, serve us again, we'll spare the human. Jonah's jaw clenched. You're bluffing. We do not bluff. This man is nothing, replaceable, disposable. You, Kira, are extraordinary. Kira didn't move, but inside her mind spun. They knew how to talk to her. They always did. You once told me, Jonah said quietly. You were tired of being their weapon. I am. Then prove it. The voice spoke again. Join us, Kira, or watch your little friend die. She stepped forward, and for a terrifying moment Jonah thought she would accept. I remember, she said softly, when I begged you to stop breaking me. You laughed. The projection blinked. We gave you strength. No, she growled. You gave me chains. She pulled out a pulse grenade from her belt, one she had built herself. and threw it into the orb. A blinding white flash. The orb shattered midair. Far above, the Imperial ship began to descend. "They're coming," Jonah said. "I know." They ran. Not to escape, but to prepare. They had 10 minutes. Jonah opened his tool pack. "I've got one energy spike left. I can overload their landing gear. Buy us time." Kira looked at her old weapon, a custom wrist blade made by the Empire. She hesitated, then crushed it under her boot. Jonah blinked. "You sure about that?" "I'm done being their tool," she said. "I'll fight with my own hands." As the ship landed, heavy troops dropped into the clearing. They moved like machines, no talking, no fear, no soul. Jonah held the detonator. Kira whispered, "Now." He pressed it. The landing gear exploded. The ship tilted, alarms blaring. The troopers turned, confused for the first time. And that was all Kira needed. She moved fast, but not to kill. She disarmed, disabled, crashed 2 helmets together, kicked a blaster into the mud. They were better armed, but she was freer, faster, alive. One soldier raised his rifle at Jonah. Kira tackled him before he could shoot. She didn't think. She just moved. Her hands, once killers, were now shields. When the dust cleared, the soldiers lay unconscious. The ship groaned as it tried to lift off. Kira picked up Jonah's bag. "We have to go. They'll be back with more." Jonah nodded. "Where to?" She looked toward the stars. "Somewhere they can't find me. Somewhere I can be more than what they made." He smiled. "I know a place." As they disappeared into the trees, the shattered orb's last recording glitched and played one final message. "You can run, Kira Zell, but you will always belong to us." Kira whispered under her breath. "Not anymore." Weeks passed. The jungle was far behind. So was Varix 9. Kira and Jonah now traveled across the outer fringe. Quiet planets, nameless moons, forgotten trade routes. They didn't leave a trail. They didn't stay long. But for the first time in her life, Kira wasn't running. She was healing. They found peace on a cold green world called Thaleen, a planet of winds, mountains, and silence. No bounty hunters, no empire, just stars above and soil below. Jonah built a small home from scrap. He fixed old droids for the nearby miners. Simple work, honest life. And Kira, she planted flowers. She had never touched real soil before. Her hands, once covered in blood, were now covered in dirt. She watched green things grow under her fingers. Sometimes she sat for hours, saying nothing, just feeling the wind. Her blades were buried deep in the forest. Her armor melted down to parts. She didn't need them anymore. One evening, Jonah returned from the nearby camp, carrying a small metal box. "Found this in a junk pile," he said. "Figured you'd know what to do with it." Kira opened it slowly. Inside was a voice recorder. Old, dusty, still working. She pressed play. A young girl's voice filled the air. "Kira, if you're hearing this, you made it out. I'm proud of you. I love you." Her sister's voice, the one they had killed. Jonah stepped back, giving her space. Kira didn't cry, but her lips trembled. She whispered, "They thought they erased everything." He nodded, "But they missed something." The next day, Kira did something strange. She asked to speak with the children in the miners' village. Jonah watched, surprised, as she told them stories, not about killing, but about stars, about machines, about how to survive without becoming monsters. The children listened, wide-eyed, not afraid. One little girl gave Kira a drawing, a picture of her, smiling, with flowers in her hair. Kira folded it gently and kept it in her pocket. Later that night, Jonah joined her on the hill near their home. "I saw you today," he said. "I saw myself too," she replied. "And for the first time, I didn't hate what I saw." He sat beside her. "You think they'll come back?" he asked. "They always do," she said. But now I know who I am, and they can't take that. Jonah looked at her. And who are you, Kirazel? She smiled. Not the smile of a killer, but of someone who had finally found peace. I'm not their assassin, she said. I'm not a ghost. I'm not a weapon. She took a deep breath and looked at the stars. I'm free. Far away, in the Empire's dark halls, a file blinked on a black screen. Status: Kirazel, deceased. The system believed the lie, because no one had seen her since, and even if they did, they wouldn't recognize her. Not anymore. Back on Thaleen, Jonah fixed a broken drone while Kira taught a child how to balance a blade, not for war, but for control. Her hands still moved fast, but now they moved with purpose, with care, with life. She was the galaxy's most dangerous assassin, but now she was simply a human